Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting. Before we get started and open our council meeting, Garth Hens will be offering a word of prayer.
Yeah, if you'll pray with me. Ooh. Father, we lay everything down at your feet, and what we need more than anything else is wisdom and discernment. We want to see this city move forward. We are grateful for the protection you've provided. We are grateful for the opportunity to live in this country, in this state, and in this city. We have a lot of big things in front of us, and so we gladly lay those down, asking for your favor, asking for your discernment and for wisdom to know how to handle these things well. We want to see the city and our residents served really well. We want to see this progressively more and more improve, where the kingdom of darkness is pushed out, and light and love and joy and peace and prosperity and life is manifested progressively more and more. So help us to do that really well. We appreciate that you've trusted us as stewards and that our citizens have trusted us as stewards. So we look forward to the opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. I will now call the meeting of June 2nd, 2020 to order and ask our city secretary if anyone has signed up to speak.
No, ma'am, we've had no one sign up.
Okay, thank you very much. Then the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we have the minutes from our May 19th meeting. So if there's no discussion about that, Chair would entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve. I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. Okay, moving on to our regular agenda. Do we have Case Opperman on?
Yes, Mayor. Hi. Case
Okay.
Opperman, Assistant City Engineer. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. You go right ahead. Our regular agenda item number 5 is considering a contract for approval with CP&Y Incorporated. So please go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, City Council, this is Case Opperman, Assistant City Engineer. We're bringing before you tonight a contract for deliberation to approve with CP&Y Inc. They're an engineering firm based out of Dallas with 15 offices across 5 states. We've selected them from a group of firms that submitted qualifications a few years ago. And for this project, they're going to be designing 7 sewer lines that we're replacing. These are sewer lines across the city that have been in failing condition, that have been in need of replacement for some time. We've done many repairs and workarounds on some of these lines over time, and it's time to replace these 7 lines if we can. Lines are going to be on Northwest Stallings Drive, Looneyville Road, Ritchie Street, Highway 21 East, West Seal Street, Coleman Street, and Press Road. So very spread out across the city. Like I said, we had several firms that submitted qualifications some time ago. We've tried to branch out from some of our normal firms that we use normally, just to try to expand our portfolio of engineers that we can call on. And so CP&Y is a well-known engineering firm. We've got full confidence in their ability to do this design work. The total fixed fee contract will be in the amount of $131,700, and we have adequate funds in this current year's budget to pay for that design. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to provide an answer.
Thank you.
Well, I do have I'm sorry, man.
Go right ahead.
You stated that expanding to different other companies. Now, is this the first time we use this company?
It's the first time that that I've had experience with them. I think Steve has dealt with them in the past on the private side, but to my knowledge, the city has not done work with them. No, sir.
Okay. Did we have bids from other companies?
Well, we don't. Yeah, we don't take bids for engineering work. It's actually against the law. But what we do is we went out. We actually solicited qualifications, and we did that through what almost looks like a bidding process. But what they do is we give them a certain amount of time to provide qualifications to us. We kind of lay out different criterion that we grade on, and back then, I think it was 2018 when we did that, and we received probably a dozen submissions from different companies, and that included some of the ones that we normally use, such as 215, KSA, Schaumburg and Polk, but it also included Stokes and Associates, who we just awarded a water line design contract to a few months ago, and CPNY and others, and so. We kind of have this stable of engineers that we have kind of received qualifications, and we've got kind of in the file that we're looking to just kind of see what other firms are out there and what others can do, and not that our normal friends that we work with have done anything wrong or inadequate, but we just try to see if there are others out there that can also do good work that we can call upon.
That's a oops on my part, because I think you've told me that before.
Have you?
It seemed awfully familiar.
Glad to know I'm consistent.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? No? Okay, hearing none. Let's see, Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We pass agenda item number 5 as it's written.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded that we approve agenda item number 5 as written. If no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion passes. Agenda item number 6, consider bid award for 2020 Northeast Stallings Drive sewer and water improvements. You're up again, Case.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Case Opperman, Assistant City Engineer again. On this contract, we're bringing before you a bid to look at for award on what we're calling the 2020 Northeast Stallings Drive sewer and water improvements. This is part of a Chapter 380 agreement that was entered into with Dr. Klein for his new medical office building on the Northeast Loop. It includes 1,000 feet of 12-inch water line and 2,300 feet of 8-inch sewer line, and this is to get from our existing services to the west to lay line up to this property to the east, and it will serve this property as well as any others that are along the way. We had 10 contractors that submitted bids for this project back in April. Crockett Construction, based out of Crockett, came in low bid at $169,790. The bids that we got were very, very good. They were all very close in number, and so that tells us that our design engineer did a great job. That was 215 Consulting that did that design, but they were all within 20,000 of each other, the first half dozen or so, and so that always indicates a very good set of plans. They're very clear to the contractors that were bidding. So we would recommend award of this contract to Crockett Construction in the amount of $169,790, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Okay, council, any questions? Okay, hearing none. Chair would entertain a motion, and please keep in mind that we need to put the name Crockett Construction into that motion. Jay?
I move that we approve regular agenda item number 6 to award bid for 2020 Northeast Stallings Drive sewer and water improvements to Crockett Construction.
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded that we award the 2020 Northeast Stallings Drive sewer and water improvement to Crockett Construction. No further discussion. All those please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Case.
Thank you, ma'am.
Regular agenda item number 7, receive Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation semi-annual report. Larissa Philpott, good evening.
Hello, good evening. How are y'all?
Doing well.
This is my first virtual meeting, so I'm gonna have to pick one of you to look at on my screen so I'm not just staring at myself. Hi, Amelia. You're the first one up there, so I'm talking to you. It's weird not to be able to see all of your faces together. It makes me a little nervous. So I am glad to present this plan to y'all. It's something that NEDCO's been working on for the last 5 months. It actually was a project that Jim Jeffers was very passionate about and strongly encouraged NEDCO to undertake. The whole point of it was to look at our existing industries that NEDCO targeted for recruitment. They'd been the same for quite some time. And honestly, there's just kind of a general feeling that they didn't quite fit the direction of the community anymore. And so NEDCO commissioned this strategic plan in the beginning of 2019. And the point of it was to look at those existing industries and determine if they still fit Nacogdoches, and if they didn't still fit Nacogdoches, which ones would. And then also analyze how we could better recruit those new industries that we looked at. This was done through meetings with the NEDCO board and with community partners at each phase. The consultant selected community partners that represented very specific aspects of the plan. So we would have a focus group with small business owners, or with workforce development folks, or with education partners or the chamber. So it wasn't necessarily, it was very much a community partner stakeholder analysis. At each one of our phases, the consultant came back in and explained the plan and explained what they found. So first they worked on stakeholder and asset analysis, then they moved on to opportunity development, and then strategy development and implementation. And throughout the whole process, it was very important to the NEDCO board that the city and county leaders supported the plan. And so what I'm here for you tonight, what I'm bringing to you tonight is the final draft. And I use the word draft because it is our plan, the community's plan. And so we wanted to make sure that you agree with all of the recommendations, because it's, economic development touches everything. So there's a lot of things on this list that NEDCO can't walk out and control by ourselves. That's true just about everything. And so we, of course, want to make sure that you agreed with them. Another note, this was started, like I said, before at the beginning of 2019. So it was pre-COVID. So some of the things might have to be a little tweaked, but honestly, I think most of them still stand. So I'm going to try to share my screen if I can. Am I allowed to do that? Yes. Okay. Y'all can't see that, can you? I apologize. I practiced this and it didn't work when I got up here. Oh, I hate when look, there's Amelia. Told you I was talking to you. Can y'all see my presentation?
No.
Okay. Well, crud.
The present now, down in the bottom right.
Oh, there we go. Tell me if you can see it now.
No.
Okay. Well, you all received copies of the presentation, so I will just walk through it. And I apologize.
Larissa, I think that Michael's going to try to help you real quick.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to keep talking. So let me move on. So the assets that and I'll be honest with y'all, a lot of this stuff are things that we were, as a city and as NEDCO and a county and a community already were working towards on purpose. And so it's nice to have somebody from the outside support what we were doing and what we are moving towards. So our assets, we've got a tight-knit community. We've got a great downtown. We're a college town. We have this great opportunity with I-69 coming through, and with an administration at SFA that is excited about some of those things and about business development. And also we've got a business-friendly environment. Some of our challenges, heard me say this before, we've got a lack of available sites. I was literally working with somebody today, a very, very large prospect that I hope to be able to bring up to you later, which would be pretty life-changing for Nacogdoches, and I'm struggling to find a site. So just know that that's something that we've got to address. Tied into that is lacking infrastructure. So we're looking for this unicorn site that could be life-changing for our community. If we could have some infrastructure investment, we might be able to find that unicorn site with a little bit of investment. And I think I have a friend here who's about to fix my computer for me. I just need to be able to show that for There's some arguments.
Okay, is it working now?
Can y'all see the side?
No.
No,
No.
Okay.
See, it wasn't
We're
just
giving
you, Larissa.
Okay, we're giving up. Never mind.
No.
Okay. Oh, good.
Oh, there it is.
Yay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. I really wanted you to be able to see some of these because there's some good visuals. Attracting and retaining young professionals. It's something we've talked about a lot. That's something that we would like to do more of, and we know that we can grow Nacogdoches and be better if we can retain some of the young folks that we're graduating. At one of the meetings with the executive committee, Sean Garrettson with Pegasus said, Nacogdoches is an exporter of talent. We are graduating these fantastic young people, and honestly, people of all ages from SFA, and then they're leaving the community. Another issue that we've talked about before, but is on an upward trend, is ISD performance. And that is honestly, it's on the list because it's not quite there yet. Councilmember Bolden and I had a brief conversation about it, and it's something that we all know is on the road to improvement, but it's interesting to see an outside person looking at the data and still listing it as a challenge. Workforce development programs in the county, you've heard me say that again and again. We have great workforce development programs at Angelina College, but it's a 45-minute drive from some parts of Nacogdoches. Our poverty levels, that's why you have me here, is to decrease our poverty levels. And then quality of place is one that needs a little bit of explanation. We've got great quality of place, but we could have better quality of place. And that's really what that's discussing. So real fast, looking at our existing target industries, lumber, manufacturing, natural resources, and retail. So part of what the city council's charged to me, how that can be summed up as, is raising the income for Nacogdoches and lowering the poverty level in Nacogdoches. Well, to do that, we need to focus our recruitment on higher paying jobs. We have a great manufacturing base that is vital to our community, and we will continue to grow that manufacturing base. But in order to really move the needle, we are going to have to recruit jobs that pay higher wages than our 4 targets have in the past. So here are the targeted industries that the group came up with. And it's important to note that 21st century economic development not based on those natural resources like we saw in our target industries before, but it's based on labor market. And labor market follows quality of life. And these recommended targeted industries are based on capitalizing on a quality of life and SFA. So just diving into these a little bit, we've got aviation, information technology, advanced manufacturing, and healthcare. As you can see here, aviation is, we all know that's a big deal in Texas. I'm not saying that SpaceX is going to move to Nacogdoches, but we do have a large area at the airport that the city owns and controls. It's pretty flat. We need to utilize that. That's a site. We say that I'm lacking sites, but maybe we are just not looking at sites in the right way. Maybe that's a site that we can utilize. We've got information technology. When I tell potential recruits about NACSpace and Elliott Electric here in Nacogdoches, their eyes light up. They see Nacogdoches as a completely different place when they realize our technological capabilities. We also are graduating lots of folks from SFA that could do these types of jobs. And also people that work in these kinds of jobs want to live in places with a high quality of life like Nacogdoches. There have been lots of studies during this COVID period that show people are beginning to look at rural areas to move to now that they've experienced that they can do 100% of their jobs from home. And they maybe don't want to live in a very, very dense urban area anymore. So let's look for the silver lining in what was a terrible situation, and maybe we can help grow our community. Advanced manufacturing, building on the successes of our existing manufacturing community, partnering with Angelina College and SFA to provide the post-secondary education to attract these types of manufacturers. And this is not old-fashioned smokestacks. The chart there shows you what traditional manufacturing is versus advanced. It really deals with cutting-edge materials, cutting-edge processes. It requires higher skills. And really looking at a historical perspective, really advanced manufacturing is where all manufacturing is going to go. It represents, depending on who you're talking to, a third or a fourth industrial revolution. So let's get ahead of that and let's attract the manufacturers that are going to be here to stay. And also those jobs typically don't go offshore because they're looking at a higher skill versus just looking at where can we get the cheapest wages. So healthcare is another important sector in here. We've all realized, and I think the folks in this meeting certainly know this, but certainly during the pandemic, we've come to appreciate our local hospital system, and we've also realized that we do serve as a regional medical hub. How can we grow that? Can we take advantage of that in a good way and get more jobs here? So moving on to the strategic recommendations, they focused on those 4 issues there. Our quality of place strategies, and these are the ones that will apply most to the city government and how I can work with the city government to help improve these things. Neighborhood restoration is something that I know the council has talked about a lot in the past. Improving the connection between SFA and downtown. That's both a physical and kind of a spiritual connection. Getting the SFA students here physically through transportation, and then also making sure that they want to come here and that they have things to do here. Improving community parks, arts and cultural programming, improving walking and bike paths, and then also design guidelines for key development districts. And that also really applies to the I-69 corridor, which is something that we have talked about before, and I'm hopeful that we can continue to work on. So talent attraction and retention strategies here, improving that K through 12 performance is important, focusing on young professionals. We've found, you guys have heard me say before that everybody has a Nacogdoches story, and we're seeing young families wanting to move here, so taking advantage of that. Building a workforce development system in Nacogdoches County, and also expanding internship opportunities. So our expansion recruitment strategies, obviously capitalizing on I-69, looking at our incentive policies and really making sure that we can align them with what our targeted industries are. improving our marketing. We've already got Haley in our office working on a new marketing plan, and she's got some really great ideas how to market both towards businesses and also to just individuals. Leveraging opportunity zones. I'm already working with somebody right now who is not only interested in locating here, not only for an opportunity zone, but also new market tax credit. Bolstering entrepreneurship. You'll hear a little bit about that in just one moment. And then continuing along with our manufacturing alliance. So that is the plan itself. Wanted to make sure that you saw that. This is my mid-year report to the City Council. So I wanted to give y'all a brief update of what is happening, what has happened, and what's hopefully going to happen in the next few months. And these are pictures from Manufacturing Day that we held back in February, which was where juniors and seniors from Nacogdoches and Angelina counties got to visit the exposition center. And we had displays from, I think, like 20, 25 manufacturers. And the kids could talk to the manufacturers about different jobs and the skills they would need to take those jobs. So that I'm going to stop sharing and finish just a few more words. We, during COVID, kind of paused our business retention and expansion visits, obviously, because we couldn't go into places, but we certainly kept in contact with retailers and restaurants, most and manufacturers most during the main part of the business closures. I've been working a lot on I-69 advocacy, and that is still going on, even though we can't go to Washington and to the Capitol to do that. Been working on just Nacogdoches advocacy with Hilco partners that the City Council is contracting with to work on everything from if we have a grant application that's going in to a state agency to some legislative issues that we might need to deal with. We held business development workshops, our entrepreneurship academy, and then worked on just a bunch of other things with SFA. During COVID, we worked a lot on business assistance, just making sure that we are available to businesses. If they had a question about closing or reopening, or they had a question about P3 funding or something like that, that we've just tried to be an information resource for them. Moving forward, coming up, we're going to start meeting with our entrepreneurship committee. Something else that Councilmember Bolden and I got to talk about today was what's going on in the country right now. It feels a little weird to be talking about economic development when there's so much else going on. But I have to say, personally, I think economic development and making sure that people have access to the educational skills that they need and to good jobs is one of the basic ways that we can wrap our arms around and fix things. It doesn't fix everything, but it's what I can do to help. And so I feel really strongly about that. With that said, the plan that I presented, I don't think we need to make major changes to it, but I think we maybe put a lens on it. Our Entrepreneurship Academy, for example, it's always been open to everyone, obviously, but do we need to do a better job of hosting it in places that people in different communities feel comfortable with? Maybe hosting it at Councilmember Bolden's church. I just mentioned that to him, or a different community center or something like that. So we're not going to drastically change what we were doing because I think the bones of it are great. I think we do need to put a little bit of a lens on it to make sure that we're reaching everybody where they need to be reached. And I've talked a long time. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions and just remind you all that the draft, that what I presented is a draft. We will gladly make changes to it and accept comments, but we are ready to get to work and work on the action items. I didn't go through all the individual action items because it's just too much information, but I think you all have that. And I'd be glad to hear and take any criticism or applause for any of it. So thank you.
Larissa, you talked about the draft and if we had any questions and making changes. What's your time frame in when you would like for this to be adopted?
sorry, we've presented it to NEDCO, but they haven't formally adopted it yet. So I would say for our next board meeting, which would be actually, let's say before the end of June, if you could give me any feedback that you would like to see amended, and then we will present it back to the NEDCO board.
Okay. Are there any other questions that anyone has?
Yes, I have some. First of all, Larissa, I wanted to say thank you for, one, for making the comment about the severity of what's going on in our country right now and situating economic development within that. I agree that it touches everything, and so is a really important thing to focus and to talk about. And I also think that the quality of place strategies are really neat, and I'm excited to work with you on that in the future. In reviewing the plan that Pegasus put together, I saw that a lot of the advanced manufacturing and the higher paying jobs from the mentioned industries have higher education levels. They mostly require bachelor's or at the very least typically associates. I get that plays to the whole goal of talent retention, especially with regards to the people graduating from SFA. My concern / question is what we're doing about the people here who don't have access to those higher level educations for whatever reason. Maybe they are low socioeconomic status and can't afford to go to school and can't afford to stop working. And those are the people that are stuck in low paying jobs. How do we uplift those people who are here, and how does that plan address that?
Sure, that's a great question. And I don't know that I have the perfect answer for it, but I can tell you just kind of what I'm thinking. First, we certainly don't abandon any of our existing industries and any of our existing workplaces. We will continue to work on business retention and expansion strategies with all of those existing businesses. The other things are working, not only on workforce development from the more expensive things, the post-secondary education, but also from high school. I think it's super important that we align our high school skills with the types of jobs that we want to attract. And so it's a long-term strategy. It's going to take a while to matriculate those folks all the way up into the working world. But I think it's important we start there. Actually, Pegasus brought up some really cool examples from Florida, where the school systems in an area all aligned their educational strategies with the areas, their targeted industries, which I thought was really interesting. I think also our entrepreneurship strategies are super important. Those folks that you described may not have the means to go to a junior college or a university, but we might be able to give them the tools for free in our Entrepreneurship Academy, a skill set to start their own business and to make sure that they have the so I think it's important that we have that continuum of education at junior high and high school level all the way through the college level, and also we have a continuum of, do you want to start your own business, and working through that as well.
Thank you. I get that. Is there any room in the plan, because I know when you and I have visited in the past and then through other presentations about having what was it called? It was workforce development, but not for like associate's degrees or, university. It was like technical skills training, either in partnership with Angelina or with SFA, if that could be done, or with the high school, since they just built that the big facility to do it. Is there anything in this plan that that incorporates sort of like the hope that we will be able to further train our existing workforce that are stuck in lower paying jobs?
And that is, and I didn't specifically go into it, but that strategy that says workforce development in Nacogdoches County, that's exactly what that's talking about. Getting a non-degree level, but a certificate training level class in Nacogdoches, or series of classes, not class, but lots of classes in Nacogdoches and a facility in this county that's closer for people to attend. I've had some great conversations with SFA. I've had some great conversations about Angelina College. I think that we're going down the right track there. I think it's going to take a lot of community effort. I think it may take some legislative effort. So I think we've got to be able to I think when we get closer to the time that it comes, that about exactly what we're going to ask for and what we need. And I think workforce development in Nacogdoches County and a physical building here devoted to that is exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Less question, more just compliment and challenge. Larissa, I think they did a great job, and I was a part of it, so I'm not tooting any horns. I was there listening and giving feedback, I guess. I think one thing that excited me the most is that economic development, you've got a really challenging job. And I think we've oftentimes looked at the Amazon HQ2s of the world and tried to think along those lines of what is it going to take for us to land that and drop them on a site and create a bunch of jobs. But it's a much longer term process. And where I think we've struggled in the past is we've had this shotgun approach. If anything that looks good, what could we bring in now job wise? And the problem is those are all going to be really natural resource focused and really low paying, which is really tough because by default, then you're kind of pigeonholing people that are jumping onto those jobs into those low paying jobs. And so what excites me about this is that it is a much longer term approach, multi-generations really even, saying this is what we're committing ourselves to, this big, hairy, audacious thing of 10 or 20 years down the road, and we're working toward that. And then it doesn't leave out the reality that if we land somebody in 5 years, how long realistically is it going to take for us to forge a cohesive partnership with Angelina and SFA? That's quite a process. And so to have something that fills in the gap in the interim to address what Amelia mentioned, I think is really critical. So I applaud that it's in there. But that's my encouragement. What encouraged me rather is it's not just this quick look around and see what companies are out there that we could possibly land, because there is a massive shortfall of qualified labor for anything that's going to be a decent paying job. And so it's not a really pretty, or it's not a cute clickbait type, awesome, this is great, let's get a bunch of people happy and excited about this. It is a commitment to a long-term strategy that addresses a lot of those things holistically. So that's good. I'm excited about that. I appreciate your help on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Roy or Jay, do you all have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say also thank you very much for all the work put into this plan. It is very much a long-term and very much a chicken and the egg kind of process, because some things don't happen until other things do happen, and those things are then dependent on some of the first things. So it is a touchy way to do it, but looking at it in this long-term manner, and getting people to understand that things are not going to happen overnight, but that if we have this cohesive plan and actually follow an outline, and pick away at those things that are crucial to draw, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's technology, whether it's whatever type of employer here. If we put those fundamental things in place first, then other things start to fall in place on their own, sort of organically. So that's pretty much it. And thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. And just adding to that, what I love about it is if we do all of the things they suggest we do, we've heard Sherry say, if you make a place that people want to visit, the people that live there will love it as well, essentially. And it's kind of the same thing like this. If we make a place that people will want to move to. None of those things are bad things for our community. Improving our education, improving our public spaces, improving our quality of life is something that all of our residents want anyway. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. Very good presentation. And we will also, I would encourage any other council members that have not gone over portions of this with Larissa to get with her and do that. Roy, did you have something you wanted to add?
Am I on mute? No, I'm good. Well, no, one of the things is, and I agree that this should be on a long-term basis, but also, as far as the poverty level, it's going to leave quite a few community with fewer people in it at that poverty level for quite a while, and some of them never get out of that because of the long-term view we have. But it's overall good for the community. I mean, I really like the plan.
Thank you.
Okay.
If I could throw one more thing in there too that I think was helpful, is that it gives us some really narrow focus relative to what we've had with very actionable items along a timeline. So now what we do in the private world is we pick out something that's way the heck down the road and then back into where do we need to be in a year or 2 or 3 or 5 to be on that track. And I think that's really where I feel like, no, not to offend anybody, but Larissa, that's where you've been hamstrung in the past is, hey, go bring in massive plants that are going to bring massive jobs and see how that works. It's a really difficult, almost insurmountable thing for you to go out and try to make happen. And so this gives us some really significant action items and then measurables. That's fantastic. Those measurables are leading indicator actions that we can control. And that's super critical if we're ever going to march towards some intentional direction. So that's fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, Larissa. And we will move on to agenda item number 8. Discuss and possibly take action concerning transition from city council meetings held via video conference to traditional in-person council meetings. This item is to allow for a discussion on whether to continue our council meetings through video conferencing and what other options are currently available to us. So we have 3 options, and what I'd like to do is, of course, first would be continue video conferencing for the interim time, just until we want to talk about it again. Our second option would be to return to chambers with protocols and guidelines that are in place for social distancing and wearing masks and that sort of thing. And third would be a hybrid model. This would be a challenge. As you've seen tonight, we've already had little blips of technical difficulties. And if we wanted to do a hybrid model, it's going to involve a little bit more research from staff. It may involve purchasing additional setup equipment, but it is possible to do. Our attorney, Jeff Davis, spoke with an attorney in the Texas Attorney General's office and consulted with them this morning. And so we have got, he can answer any specific questions that we have, but they did agree with him on this, that these are some options. I'd like to back up to the second option, which is returning to chambers, and sort of give you an idea of what that might look like. If you start with the dais where the council sits, we could have 4 council members spread apart there. The mayor would sit down below where Jeff Davis usually sits with the city secretary. To push out the podium, that podium is fixed in that room. So we would end up having a portable podium set back a ways with a microphone. We would probably need to take out the first 2 rows of seats to allow for spacing all of that out. We would take out every other row of chairs. So then you could have a person, you could have 2 people per row, one sitting on each end. So that was going to allow for about 10 to 12 people from the public to be allowed to be in a meeting at one time. At the entrance, there would be masks available. We can make that. We can have that if we want to, and we would have hand sanitizer. And then we could, if there are not members of the public, then of course staff could take those seats. If we do have enough from the public, then staff can social distance in the hallway or stay in their office until it's time for them to come do their presentation. There is what I'd like to do now is just have the conversation and get where your thoughts are. If we do want to consider the hybrid model, I would need to table a decision tonight so that they could gather some more information and get the costs that are involved. So again, we have 1, continue what we're doing, 2, return to chambers with protocols in place, or 3, attempt to do a hybrid where some council members that are comfortable can attend there and the others can video conference in. So, Amelia?
Yes.
Where are you? What are you thinking right now with this?
It did make me, because at first I was a little bit scared just because of the 2-month-old at home. And then I also live with someone who's really high risk. And so I've been really scared about it and was taken, she's scared too. And a little bit nervous about it. I think hearing you talk about what that would actually look like and requiring masks does set me a little bit more at ease. I would be interested to see what the hybrid option would look like, because I mean, to be honest, it does still make me nervous to be in an enclosed space for a prolonged period of time with people. But I also understand that, you know, it might not be realistic to continue to do virtual, you know, for the indefinite, you know, future.
Okay. Roy?
Well, since I'm in the high risk group, at-risk group, I would like to continue as is for one more meeting, and then we could make that call as to where we want to do the return to chambers or the hybrid.
Okay. Jay?
I am pretty much at the point of being comfortable with the protocols that you have described. But at the same time, I am absolutely open to doing another virtual meeting and kind of seeing where we stand at that point.
Okay. There is one thing I neglected to mention, and that is that they do go in, they have a fogger that they go in and disinfect the city council chambers. That's important to mention. Garth?
I'm open. Either way, I'm open. I appreciate we have some sensitive, high risk folks that are either directly involved or indirectly involved. So I'm open to whatever collectively we decide is the best. I don't have any driving opinion.
Okay. Well, I agree. I want people to be comfortable in doing this because then you can focus on the business at hand. And so it sounds as if everyone is amenable to us waiting, but that we would like a little more information about what the hybrid model might look like. Is that correct? Does everyone?
That sounds right to me.
Okay, so then I tell you what, let's do, it says take action. So I guess we need a motion to ask staff for some additional information for a hybrid model in order to conduct our council meetings. And then we will continue video conferencing. So would someone please make that motion or one similar?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we request staff look into the logistics and costs of a hybrid model to determine the feasibility.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. If no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Let's see. Okay, we are now going to go into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074. It is 6:22 p.m. Thank you. Okay, so pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, we are returning from executive session. It is now 7:39 p.m., June 2nd, 2020. No action was taken, and so our meeting of June 2nd, 2020 is now adjourned. Thanks.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
Y'all have a good one.
See you later, Jan.